why do you speak like that?
All right, well, let's skip this because I'm sure that there's a lot of production happening at the background.
Why is he so dumb looking?
Well, look.
Probably from Queensland. North.
Debate Spanian.
At what?
On what?
That's the second part. On what? Question mark. I don't know why they're asking that question.
Debate him, lad.
I
would love to debate.
I thought you guys were going to do an election live. Well, Jordan was performing in Central Coast.
Yeah, I got a few messages. I'm like, dude, I'm sitting quietly. Fuck off.
What were you doing?
Sitting quietly.
Doing nothing.
Like staring at a wall.
Damn. The intricate, rich tapestry of Mislav Belabracic's life.
Dude, I will say this. It was kind of nice watching the election thing without having to like constantly talk shit about it.
Really?
Yeah, it was just like fucking in my underpants watching. It's like, oh shit, Albo's fucking killing it. It's a good night. This is a good night.
Me staring at a wall being like...
Ali's finally like made his final form of just being a dad.
Yeah. Ordered some Pizza Hut, you know.
Did you? Dude, that sounds sick.
It was a great night, dude.
Both
you
guys doing your own version of that. You just without the television, just staring at a blank television.
You know what? You know what my experience with the election was?
What?
I did the whole sort of like the first time Trump ran, just being like, and not watching, like just happy. Like, dude, this is my experience of the election. I voted just in time, and then I was at dinner and I was at dinner, and then I was like pretty late, and I was like, oh, how's the election going? And it was like literally the first time I even checked in. It was like it wasn't on TV. It was just someone else's phone. They're like, oh, looks like Labor's won, and I was like, shit.
It happened really quickly too.
The TV. And then at the end, I flicked on the TV at 11 o'clock at night to watch that weird recap of that poll caller from the ABC. It was like, he's been with us for 40 years, some hobbit. And he's like,
what? And then you were just like, goodbye, hobbit. Goodbye. Yes. Well, you got teary.
Yeah, I was like, where else will we find a man with a clear speech impediment?
I was
call the election.
Very short man. I assume they keep in a cage.
Wheel him out every election. No one can.
Keating Kappa. It's just so dumb. It's just like he just looks at the bar, and then the bar is clearly 80% for the national guy. I think we can call Kappa.
I know.
That's your expertise.
And not only that, he decides that it's too much for him to work one day every 3 years.
Yeah.
So he decides.
Really stressful.
He has to retire. It's like, I also have to look at walls. Yeah. God, that was so funny.
That was a skill.
But that was
why is everyone so sad about this skillless man? You were. You were his biggest fan in the last 30 seconds of his career.
No, dude, I just found it comical. I'm like, who is this man? Like, you know what made me honestly realize? It made me realize, I'm like, God, I'm glad that I don't have some career job, because all you get after your whole life, you've literally wasted your life there. You've invested your whole life. All you get is some half earnest goodbyes and some cheap flowers.
Dude, what are you talking about? I think it's a
sick... the kick on the ass.
Yeah, that was a televised government job retirement of some guy saying "You're let me retire."
It was that.
Establish our life, guy.
I was like, "I'm not finished." Yes, you are. That was it.
That's what happened.
And fucking Lucy Crabbe was like, "Yes, you are."
I think it's a sick job. You get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars every 3 years. You just have to look at the bar and tell people where the bar is at that point. You're it's up. It's up, guys.
Anyone can do it. It's like, is Labor out? Well, it says here they're out. Yep, they're out for that seat.
Yeah, I know. If we just go into the electorate here, you can see that the red booths are trending towards Labor and the blue blues are trending towards Liberal, and we can see that there is a lot more red ones here, so that is not a good sign for this electorate. Moving on to the next electorate, there's a lot more red signs.
I know.
I haven't seen this point before. That's the Labor one. That's what it does.
Anyway.
But that was my coverage. Dude, my coverage of the election was someone going, oh, Labor's in. I'm like, yeah, sweet. And
then, exactly. It's like, has Mislav called the election yet? The new meme of the ABC.
And then literally at 11 p.m, because I was bored, just been like, we'll miss you, Hubbard, man.
I'll miss you, Mike. Anthony, whatever.
Let's see what Rage has to say. I'll miss you, Basement Jacks.
Questions. Firstly, I think this is just a comment. Someone needs to tell Miss Love about redundancy payments and also Jordan.
That sounds.
We're gonna talk about this in more detail, but like a quick reaction: Adam Bant getting the boot.
This is the sweetest victory of all.
Oh my! Is he gone for real?
Huh?
Is he gone?
He's gone. He's not conceding, but like I think even people are calling him on now, being like, "Buddy, it's time." And it's like, no, it's not over until it's over. Oh yes, it is. You and Anthony Green, all the creepy little hobbits of Australia, back to the burrows you go. You're not even welcome in the Shire because they'd all hate you. Man, you know what was sick about the seat of
Creepy little hobbits of Australia.
you know what was sick about the seat of Cook? I was asking my girlfriend because she votes in that one. That's former Scott Morrison seat. And I was like,
What happened there?
yeah, I was like, did you vote for the bald guy? Because I knew that the bald guy was the Labor dude. And then she just goes, and she looks at the phone. This is the seat of Cook. And she's like, and then there's just a red underneath a bald man and a blue underneath a bald man. Both of them just look exactly the same. And both of their names are Simon. Incredible. Dude, how good is this as well? It's just like Stu was just like, Simon's a bald guy's name, and I was like, dude, that's so on point. That is such a good observation. If you were called Simon, you were destined to have male pattern baldness.
So she was just like, trick question.
yeah. She was like worried, being like, I don't know. I can't remember which bald guy I voted for. They're both called Simon.
That's a sketch.
Isn't it incredible that both are like, dude, look at this. Look, I know we can't put this up on screen, but look at that. Like,
let me see.
That is why Labor had such a hard swing towards it in Cook, because they got a man that looked identical and tricked nearly half the electorate.
Wait a sec, who won though? Who won that one?
Yeah, well, obviously the Liberal, but dude, this is the thing.
Oh, what do you mean?
It's now a marginal seat.
That's crazy. That's close as shit.
It's a marginal seat now.
Jordan, your comment on this comment, someone says, we can't take it anymore. It's too much winning.
Yeah, dude, that's so true. Dude, that is a very good point. I mean, you might even get tired of winning.
Yeah.
It happened. The prophecy is true. I'm tired of winning.
Trump did
Please, Mr. Elbow. It's too much winning.
Oh my God, did you see Trump's comment on the election?
That was fucked. Dude. Okay, we got to talk about this later. Actually, let's just start the pod here. We'll bring all of that shit into the podcast because we should start with the Simon Earl stuff. And no. I think let's just keep it going.
Yeah, let's start the pod.
No, I think the pod should have started.
I don't know what to...
The pod's already started. Dude, keep the fucking Simon shit in.
We still got to clap for them to sync it.
But we got to take out some of the stuff from the beginning. Okay, that's fine. We'll start. Okay. Well, all right. So, welcome to the Friendly Geordies podcast, I guess.
No, there's no need. There's no need. You still got to clap. That's like a technical thing.
Welcome to the Friendly Geordies podcast. I hope you are...
This is all included. The podcast has already started.
I know, but the clap...
We're on with the formalities because of Miss Love's repetitive stress disorder.
Dude, this is not some strange shamanic dance. It's for the editor to be able to sync the audio.
But I am the editor.
He's doing it now.
Oh my God. Well, look, I'm going to go get my little present from the fridge. Can I do that?
Go on, get that.
Oh, yeah, of course. We have to start with that. But
so tired of winning.
So
tired. Legitimately so tired.
Trump made Australia great again. Dude,
yes, he did.
Trump was right about everything.
Yep.
That hat was
right about everything.
In the spirit of things, gentlemen, I don't know if you can see. Can they see?
Yeah, they...
Simply a matter of switching the... God, we're back to our old-fashioned...
Jesus Christ. How long does it take?
Sorry.
Man, all of this is like a technical difficulty. Yeah, you have to move it. Okay, now you're back. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, elbow!
They're not able to see that.
Well,
but
it's
a very impressive beer, okay?
Very impressive. Elbow beer, and everyone's enjoying because... Yeah, the boys! Congrats!
Hell yeah.
Crack it.
Willie the Boatman Albo Pale Ale.
Willie the Boatman, shout out. Albo Pale Ale. Also shout out Bob Hawks, love them. Boys, crack 'em.
A mate of Willie.
This should have been the opening sound for the editor.
Oh. Cheers, boys. To a happy 3 years.
To a happy Australia.
Damn, man. Did anyone have a good night except Labor?
That's nice.
Oh, it's actually nice
That's
too.
a nice beer.
Yeah, it's
got
nice.
it's hoppy.
Smooth.
It's hoppy. It's got an edge to it. So we're going to be enjoying some Albo beer because, I mean, Jesus Christ, the man deserves it. Like, I'm the least Labor shill here, and even I'm just sort of like, I'm nearly as proud as Albo as that old
As the leprechaun.
pollster who retired. I'm nearly as proud.
Anthony Green.
Yeah, that guy, Anthony Green.
Both great contributions
So
to society.
let's okay, Miss.
Yeah.
We're gonna focus on Jordan because this is his big day. Let's
you
just be
talking
real.
about?
He.
One Nation got a sheet in. No, I'm joking. Yeah, go
Okay,
on.
let's start with just the initial reaction when you heard that not only has Labor won, but this is the worst defeat in the history of the Liberal Party. What was your reaction?
And how did you? What did you do a show that night?
I was doing a show. I wasn't paying attention to the show at all. I feel so bad for anybody that watched it. I feel so bad. I've had some shocker shows in my time, but
God.
just a man on stage barely paying attention to what he's saying, and then every now and then going like, can someone update me on the score?
That's awesome.
It's perfect for an RSL. And then this quiet audience going, Labor's ahead. And it was just like, yeah, well, it's still early counting.
This grumpy fucking
grumpy.
backbencher fucking.
So anxious the whole day. I had no idea why. I had this like last thought of, oh my God, Australia would elect Dutton, wouldn't they?
Oh,
Boy, was I wrong as
you
usual.
were.
Keeping the dream alive. Yet another election that Jordan didn't call.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
it was
that's
just like,
true.
You did
yeah,
call
I
it.
did actually call it. We had the like, I know, kids.
I'm scared too. Yeah.
We had
No,
that.
you called it for Dutton.
Yeah, I called it for Dutton.
No, you did.
I called it for Dutton.
Listen.
And that's why I am solely responsible for Albo's victory.
Yeah, I get it. It's that whole thing of like, if you're superstitious, just say the thing that, you know what I mean? It's like, just say, yeah. But look, like I said, I was told by someone at a quick remark of, Labor's won. I was like, you don't say. That was my take on the election. But
And what, you continued staring at the wall afterwards?
no, I was at dinner.
Fancy.
I was at dinner. The ball was before.
Where were you at dinner? Who were you with?
A friend.
Oh, I know who this friend of yours is. Say no more.
It's that horrible friend of yours.
Horrible friend. That awful influence on you.
Jordan, this is like, I'm like Harry Potter in the fucking cupboard. You're like, get back in. But
Wait, like I said, Miss, let's focus on Jordan for a bit.
My
Jordan,
mistake. Can I open those Cheetos, or is that really unprofessional?
yeah, don't eat them on the pod.
Okay.
But Jordan, okay, so there was a level of disbelief when you first found out.
Honestly, I got off stage and people were sort of saying to me, yeah, Labor's won. And I thought, yeah, okay, by how much? Then the calls started coming in of just a bunch of drunk cunts being like, dude, it's a collapse. It's a total collapse.
Right.
This is the biggest victory since we've had since Hawke. Then I went over and filmed my video saying, Jesus Christ, this is the biggest victory since Hawke. And by the time I finished saying that, it was the biggest win in Labor's entire history.
Beat Hawke.
Huh?
It beat Hawke.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Man, this could beat Howard's 96 election. We don't know yet. If they get more than 95 seats, which they could.
But it's still going.
Oh, yeah. And it's
Jesus.
all going in the favour of Labor as well.
Whoa.
There's very few seats in the contest that is going the other way away from Labor.
Okay, so we're gonna get
Wow.
into like some of the more juicy stuff, but firstly, what do you think was the chief contributor to the election win?
All right,
there's a lot
boys,
of
tell
talk
me.
about. There's a
Tell
lot
me.
of talk about.
Look,
Yep.
There's
I
one
changed
group
the
that says
vote.
it's the Trump factor.
He's got it.
What?
He's axed us. I mean, as usual, he's
Did you say
completely
the
undermined the
votes?
entire point of this podcast, which is just pad
Oh,
out
the votes.
political chat on the one episode that people are actually interested in what we have to say, and he's completely nubbed 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, I love
In the butt.
Dude,
Thank you, Miss
I
Old.
thought he said the boats.
that was last election.
like 4 elections ago.
Sorry, well, whatever.
was
It's a rich
last
tapestry.
decade.
Keep it a man.
It's a rich political tapestry in this country.
Miss Love Bella Bradgick, electoral historian.
Anthony Green's replacement.
Yeah, well, it's not over yet.
Yeah, so Of course. Okay, so that was unbelievable.
What was the? Let's have our take.
Now let's talk about yeah. Okay, first of all, why? What do you think? Because there's two schools of thought. One is everyone that thinks that Trump has anything to do with it is crazy. It was about policy, and people didn't like Peter Dutton's policy. And then there's the other view, the international view, that this is the Trump effect.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god, I couldn't listen to anybody from overseas talking about this politics. I fully understand now. Every time I mention any other country, people are like, "Please just talk about your own country." I fully get that now. Don't you reckon? When you heard all of the internet commentators saying that, like, well, this is obviously because of Donald Trump.
I didn't watch any. They said it on Democracy Now, though.
They said because of Donald Trump.
No. They just said, like, they were just like, Peter Dutton was known as the Trumpist candidate. So sort of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Top work as always, democracy. Yeah.
So what do you?
Sure, you got your $300 a week donations from your socialist Canadian base, even though you broadcast in America.
So you don't agree with the Trump effect? What's your view on that?
It had an
I'll tell you,
effect.
no, there was something that I can reveal. I know things that I'm not allowed to say, but there is something that I am allowed to say because it's just public now.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Dutton hired Trump's team to run his
Oh
election.
yeah.
Hey, I told you that.
Well, I think
Yeah, but I know
everyone told
more
him that.
about it now. But like, yes, he was the one that
Broke the news.
broke the news.
Even I messaged him that. When
Yeah,
it
he
came
messaged
out.
it
Did
too.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did because I was like, "Oh, this is too good." to
I mean,
resist.
it's huge. I was like, dude, is it on a guy on a podcast being like, I snuck into Australia and jimmied my way and illegally trying to influence
I was
their,
a boat person.
Like, literally, like, it's like, what?
To be fair to Dutton, I mean, it's true that, like, you know, Trump's campaign manager literally advised him how to run the campaign. But it's very common for conservatives and, for that matter, even leftist parties to, like, keep switching from one country to
No.
another.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying that was just a huge tactical error on his end.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
Because
Dude, his entire thing was a tactical error.
massive, but it was because of them. This is the whole stupidity of it. He got rid of Crosby Textor, right? These are the guys, the masterminds behind a bunch of Liberal state wins that they shouldn't have won. A bunch of Scott Morrison's miracle win was because of Crosby Textor.
What is that? Who's that?
They're
Think
just
tank?
two nerds from, I think, Britain that have just figured out like the algorithm of how to manipulate voters.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And so they have just gone through the entire electorate of Australia every time and said, these people are susceptible to your message, micro-target them with spending on advertising. And that's what they've been doing. And their machine is second to none. Obviously, the Labor Party has tried to build up their own machine, but it's just nothing in comparison to Crosby Textor. It's a lot like what the Americans have with their machine. I can't even remember what the Democrat and Republican one is, but the Republican one is endlessly dumped oligarch money into it. So it's always better than the Democrats, and they have to make like a bootleg version of it. Same thing is happening here. However, for whatever reason, Donald Trump, what's
Freudian
the difference these days? Yeah, but bald Donald Trump.
Yes.
Yes. I feel sorry for him. But
Do you?
I feel so sorry for him. No one deserves to lose that bad. And again, I stand by it. The reason that he lost that bad is because he doesn't have eyebrows. Like that is the reason that we're looking at this landslide.
But you know what?
Now.
I don't want to. I'll let you go on, but I don't feel that bad because there's those moments in those debates where it's like, Mr. Albanese is lying again, and it's just like, he's a dick. He wasn't a nice guy.
Apparently, behind the scenes, he is.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what everyone, like, now that he's lost, people have come out of the woods and said, "Oh, I just want to put it on the record. He's actually
is
a good guy. Just couldn't
Right,
say anything for the
right.
last 15 years."
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
You know, on a personal level, he's
Fair enough.
closer to your Tony Abbott's than he is your
Right.
Scott Morrison.
Okay.
And I
yeah,
think-
yeah, yeah.
I
Oh
think,
yeah,
like-
no, for sure.
As
You
a-
can see that.
As
yeah.
a
You can?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Party should really consider how good their leader looks. It has a massive impact.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they were considering it. They gave him a tan. They gave him your glasses.
Yeah, they
that
gave-
helped a lot.
which did. Yeah, but so you think the Trump factor did not have a lot to do with it?
Well, no. Okay, so as a result of that, instead of what Crosby Textor was doing, which was they fully understand the electoral system in Australia, as a result of that, they didn't have that. They were basically going in blind. They just hired the Trump team because Trump won this like amazing election, and they thought, oh, okay, we'll just do exactly the same thing. And then they just turned out to be a complete snake oil salesman that are overpaid like most political consultants that just said, talk about how awesome Donald Trump is. Okay,
Yeah.
so we paid you $30 million for
Really?
that. That's all. Goodbye. And then just went away. And then obviously, like, Donald Trump's stock just tanked like a week later. And then they fucked off and they're just like, what the fuck do we do now? We spent all of our money on these consultants.
Is that what it
and then
was?
Crosby Textor is pissed off at us. So they were going into the election blind. So on their end, they screwed up This is why the campaign was so bad for them.
Damn.
They were blind the
That's
whole
so
time.
interesting. So you're saying that the Trump effect wasn't the fact that Trump had pulled out those tariffs and like the global perception was bad, but because he gave Peter Dutton his shitty advisors and they screwed up his campaign.
Absolutely.
Because his campaign was one of the worst campaigns ever. At the time, I was like, keep it coming.
Yeah.
But now you're like, dude, what were you doing?
What were you doing?
What was going on there?
It was just, dude, they had nothing. They banked on that. The consultants mapped it out for them and said, this is your plan to go forward. And then they only realized, this is incredible that the Liberal Party is just so dumb at this point. They only realized at that point, oh my God, they have given us a way to victory, in inverted commas, under a presidential system, which is just like, let's talk about one issue. Let's keep that in the press constantly. And it's like, dude, in Australia, you're running 150 presidential elections. That's what you're doing.
What do you mean?
Well, like you're voting for each MP in each seat.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't run the same way that you run in America. Like the reason that they did this again was because during The Voice, this worked really well for them. But that's because The Voice is very much like a presidential campaign. It's just like yes or no to the president.
Yeah.
Like basically an American election is just a referendum on the president.
Hey,
you know?
just on that voice thing, I was thinking about this. Do you think that when the first voice, now I don't agree with this view, but I'm trying to understand what the Australian society was thinking. When voice referendum came on, they felt that maybe this welcome to the country and like, you know, some of that stuff was a bit too much for them.
Welcome
right?
to the country.
But once the vote got rejected, like as in the referendum got rejected, I think generally Australians were like, we've made our point. And so when Peter Dutton was continuing to, you know, bring up that sort of culture war stuff, people were thinking that's a bit too mean towards Indigenous Australians.
No, it was more, okay, this is something else that was actually a good point that the Republican machine has created that they've figured out, which is something that we need to figure out in Australia, but it's just so hard because everything that we do is just a copy of America, right? But one of their major strategies that worked extremely well, it wasn't so much the fact that Donald Trump was going on podcasts, although obviously prime ministers here and prime minister candidates here did the same thing. It's not so much that. What it was the fact that they mapped out what all the different subcultures of America are, and this is something that the Democrats didn't do, and you can absolutely see it by this one point, right? When you think of Donald Trump, you don't just think of a president. You think of a social media commentator. You think of a celebrity. You think of a genius businessman. Like you think of all these different hats.
Which,
that he's
by the
wearing.
way, apparently he's not, but just, you know, just saying.
That theory has been debunked, Miss Love.
You shit.
I don't know, dude. His Bitcoin scam was like one of the best road
That's
tools
true.
I've
Oh
ever
my
seen.
God.
Yeah, but keyword is scam.
Yeah, but then what's the difference?
Yeah,
am I
I
right?
suppose
You're
so.
making money. This is business.
That's true. That's true.
This 80s stockbroker genius. Like he's got all of these hats. When you think of Kamala Harris, when you think of Joe Biden, what do you think? Boring Washington stiff. That's what you think. That's it. So people that are, I don't know, like upper educated managerial types and people that work in the White House and shit, they're going to look at them and think like, yeah, obviously he's mad. Like he's built for this shit. That's all he thinks about is this shit.
Yeah.
But the average person that just thinks about like WWE and shit like that just sees Donald Trump smacking Vince McMahon's head into the pole. And then it's
Literally.
just like, yeah. And then
my
that's what they
president.
think, you know?
It's crazy.
They're just, that's what people are. They're just
Yeah.
dumb chimps.
That's just actually just hit me right now that the president was on wrestling.
Yeah.
That's
Not just that, dude.
Crazy.
Lots of shit. Like him just doing the whole like eating at McDonald's. I like McDonald's. It's just like, because that is a culture in America, eating McDonald's. You know, it's like all of these little cultural signifiers that he's pumping out to the public. You know, it wasn't so much that he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like if Kamala Harris went on Joe Rogan's podcast, it wouldn't matter. It was more the fact that he was hanging out with Joe Rogan at UFC fights. You know, that was the important part. So he was obviously doing that.
Kamala was not doing that.
No, she wasn't.
No, man. Dude, if she did, holy fuck. You know what else is really weird, apparently? I've talked to somebody who met Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and they were saying, because like they were having a meeting with them, right, in America, and they were saying that you talked to Joe Biden and he was mad. Like, he's a really nice guy. He's got that classic all-American smile. He's lovely, and he's like, he means well. And obviously at some point in his life, he was like a very good politician, but he was a granddad, you know, he was just not there. So you'd meet Joe Biden, you'd have your little photo op, and then you go into the back room and then you talk to Kamala Harris, and actually she was just running the show the whole time. Like, she is abnormally competent at her job. She's really fucking good at her job.
I thought she was a DEI.
Yeah. That's what I thought too. That's the branding. No, man, she was the president the whole time.
Really?
She was scarily competent. She was on top of fucking everything. Like, you know, you're talking about niche shit in Australia, and she'd be like, yeah, and also Kenya's doing this, and like she know it all.
Right.
But anyway, the point is that unfortunately, in this day and age, being competent is actually a detriment to you in the United States. Isn't that incredible? Because everyone's so fucking dumb and they've got to vote. Yeah. You just have to spend your entire time sitting there and just being like, oh yeah, I really care about Timothy Chalamet's relationship too. And like, you got to do that shit. Yeah. That's what you have to do. So it's about those cultural signifiers. That's what they need to be hitting. Anyway, so the strategy that Peter Dutton was using when he was talking about the like welcome to country stuff, it wasn't so much the welcome to country stuff that he was signifying. What he was signifying is it was always about football. It was always welcome to country at football matches. That's why he was commenting.
Right. The cultural.
And we're just kind of lucky that he's just nowhere near as charismatic. But the strategy is right. He's like linking himself to football.
Yeah, but he also said that about after the Anzac ceremony thing.
Again, cultural signifier. This is very strategically planned.
Well, it really backfired because it didn't. Like, he got the worst result possible.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, in Australia, the electoral system is this is the genius of our electoral system. Like, the American system is so hacky and filled with bugs. It's a terrible system.
Yeah, why don't they have? I know it's like a president's a different thing, but like, why don't they? They do still have members for their own. The states have their own members.
Yeah, but they figured this out years ago, man. This is something that the Republicans figured out in the Obama years. Before, they always had this like mantra in Washington of all politics is local.
Yeah.
And then Michael Steele came along, which is that black guy that you're like, are you sure you're black? Are you sure you're not wearing boot polish? Like, he just looks white. Right. Don't you think?
I don't know who he is.
Like what?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Panthera.
I don't know who that is, but
whatever. The point is, he's like an MSNBC host now, weirdly, but he was like an old Republican like genius. Right. Michael Steele is a genius, right?
Right.
But anyway, Michael Steele figured out that if you just focus on Obama and talk about how shit he is, everything just gets swept up into that in this day and age. No one fucking cares about their mayor. Local. They don't know who their mayor is. This is a 50s idea. Right. People just watch television. Like, America is chronically addicted to television. This is something that like
we are too.
Like Red Thread, for instance, was pointing out, which is just like, no, but in America it's so much worse.
When
you go to America, like their culture is television. Right. That's why Donald Trump won. It's because he was on The Apprentice. Okay. That's the reason. It is not because he's a president. It's just because like they watch so much fucking television. They're brainwashed by entertainment. Right. They need everything to be entertaining. Otherwise their brains shut off. Like, really? That's why. And so anyway, Michael Steele was figuring that out. And so he just realized like everything you just turn it into Obama socialism. You don't talk about local politics at all. So, and you can do that because the presidential system is set up in a way that it's basically the election is just a referendum on the president.
Right, yeah.
So in Australia, you can't do that. In Australia, you have to micro-target seats based on what marginal voters you can get. And while they were just trying to run a presidential, I really don't understand why they weren't able to do that, because you would imagine that there is like enough wisdom in the Liberal Party for them to realise this isn't America. Like, you have to be running a game in I don't know what the fuck happened to their brain. I don't know.
Well, that's
Like,
the
and
one
that's the
thing that
weird
they were
thing.
lacking. I think they were certainly lacking wisdom this time around, because like it's not just how they went about their campaign was colossally bad, but even their policies. It's rather bizarre that they took that route. Like, for example, nuclear power.
Yeah, that was a dumb one.
It was not only was it like a debate that we didn't need to have, but it was also impractical to go about the whole nuclear thing.
Totally.
There's like legislative
Expensive.
issues. It's banned for one, so you're gonna have to repeal the laws.
Craziness.
There's so much, and then it would have happened 20 years from now. And this election cycle, people were worried about like the next month. It was just a bad strategy from the get go. And I think tell me what do you think about this? The whole nuclear power has nothing to do with nuclear power. The more I look into it, to me it seems that it's the fossil fuel lobby introducing nuclear power, not because they want to do nuclear power. No. It's because they want to just buy themselves more time.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's exactly
That's
it.
the only thing that
exactly
makes sense to me.
Yeah. No, but that is what they're doing.
That's
or what they tried
crazy.
to do. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely just that.
Jesus Christ.
It's crazy, and apparently, the fossil fuel lobby has been covertly funding a lot of the election stuff that was happening. I'm not talking about political parties. Obviously, the political parties get donations. I'm talking about like content creators.
Yeah.
You kind of you know that like Crosby, Stills and Nash or whatever, that one you were saying, the original one, the electoral, How would that have changed the outcome? What would they do differently? What would, if they were like informing his campaign? How would it look different?
Dude, they would be doing what the Labor Party was doing, which is finding specific, unthought of demographics of people.
Right.
Let's just say this, for instance, right? This is a very good example.
Because you said ScoMo used him, right?
ScoMo
that wasn't a great campaign, I didn't think.
That was a great
Really?
campaign.
How?
They were not on set to win that. They were not on track to win that
But
campaign.
how did they... Yeah, but okay. I wasn't like, what a campaign, ScoMo.
Because this is the whole thing. These campaigns, when you think about these national campaigns and things like that, guys, this is nothing. Like, no one thinks about this in Australia. Like, when you think about America, you can think of, Stronger Together or Make America Great Again, because it's the big guy at the top that you're looking at. Here, no one gives a shit, and like, you're not supposed to give a shit, and it's like, it's kind of window dressing stuff. That's like them just running like slogans and things. These are just nothing.
So how would it be
nothing.
different?
Huh?
How would it be different under them? What would they have done?
Okay, so very good example of this. During Gladys Berejiklian's reign, they had this marginal seat, and Labor pumped a bunch of money into it because, again, they were blind and they just were behind the times and they don't have the money for it. But I don't know if they used Crosby Textor. They might have used some similar company like them. Anyway, they just came and said, we have identified enough people that care about this Scouts Hall, this one Scouts Hall in this local seat that's just like falling to pieces. And so she comes in and they say, just announce that you're going to give a government grant to do it up. And she goes in, announces the government grant, does it up, leaves. They were sitting there thinking, what the hell is going on? This is a marginal seat. She's spending nothing here. She made that one announcement. She won the seat. She won the seat because there was enough people in the seat that cared about that one issue.
Shit.
And so they voted for that.
So it's
one
basically
issue.
macro versus micro, really.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the way. In Australia, you have to just go down to the nitty gritty and pick out every little fucking subgroup that you just can't even imagine exists.
That's a lot better. That's a better way to be, because it's like actually you're forced to care about local issues.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Certainly a better way. Dude, how could you like choose one person that's going to solve the issues for everyone? It's a difficult thing to do, particularly when it's Donald Trump who can't solve.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Dude, we're going to talk about Donald Trump as well,
Trump
because
is
there's more
losing it.
stuff coming.
Yeah, he's losing it, dude.
We still haven't, we're still not done with the election.
Yeah.
So, okay, next thing. Dutton losing his seat. What are your thoughts about that?
I just feel for the guy.
To Labor.
Like he didn't deserve. First off, I don't think it's a good thing that he lost his seat. Like I'm glad because it's just another Labor seat. But I honestly think if he was in, he would be running again, and he's unpopular. But they've got no one else, so they'd have to run him again.
Oh, so you're saying in the long run it'd be better for him to have kept it?
Well, now I just think that like the Liberal Party has been so decimated. This is, guys. What do you do from here? Do you understand? Like, if you're the Liberal Party, what the fuck do you do from here?
Well, there's one obvious answer. They need to fix the Teal issue. That's priority one.
But Ali, they've also got the One Nation issue.
No, I think their problem is that they're trying to appeal to the Conservatives as well as, the Teals. But the problem is that they already have parties that are... So the Nationals, they take care of all the regional issues anyways. So you're not getting those votes. So why not keep yourself a bit more urban, kind of like Malcolm Turnbull-esque?
They have to pick a new identity. They're either going to be...
Teals are basically the Liberals, except that they just don't want climate.
I think
issues.
they're
girl liberals.
I think
this is my new moniker for them. There's girl liberal and boy liberal.
Oh, Jesus.
That's what it is now.
That'll be popular.
It's true though, don't you reckon?
I mean,
that's what it is.
So what they need to do is basically just divide their party. So the Liberal Party just becomes girl liberal, and then you keep the Nationals as the boy Liberal Party.
The Nationals is not the boy Liberal Party. The Nationals is the country party. They should have never rebranded. It is the country party.
Yeah.
I think it was obvious. I honestly think it's the glass house joke.
What is it?
Just if Labor is the Labs and Liberal are the Libs, do you think that that's why the country party changed their name to the National?
That's pretty... Actually, that's yeah.
But anyway, so they are purely a regional thing because, look, the Nationals absolutely decimated in this election. In fact, they nearly flipped a Labor seat because their seats are so safe that they were able to just dump all their money into Ballarat, I think. Just dump all of their money into that, which is like as Labor as you can get, right? Ballarat. It's like
that's
these
like
old
the Eureka
school
Stockade.
Stockade mining towns.
Yeah.
That
Union, like
nearly
birthplace
flipped.
of unions and
That kind of shit. That nearly flipped to the Nationals, and it's because they have their seats. They're so comfortable in their seats that they're able to just move all of their money into that.
But they didn't flip it.
They got close.
Wow.
They got really close.
Wasn't the only Liberal win in like the Northern Territory? I mean, not seats, but like big wins or something?
That doesn't surprise me. I don't know.
I don't know, yeah.
But, so yeah, it is not boy Liberal. It is country. Yeah, the country party. That's all the identification. I know from people that hand out polling stuff for Labor there, this is what it's like every election in regional Australia. You hand out your vote Labor cards, the coal miners will pick them up, some tradies will pick them up or something like that. Everyone else just walks in their flanos. They just go like, "G'day, Mick. Yeah, g'day, Earl. How you going? Yeah. Saw you at netball the other day. Oh, yeah. Yeah, netball was good. So I just put a 1 next year, do I? Yeah, just like last 3 years, mate. Yeah, 2 years.
And that's Nationals.
And they just fuck off in their utes and go, and then never think about it again.
Yeah.
That's how they win. It's just like the National Party is just fundamentally just so engrossed in country culture. Like, all you have to do as a national guy, this is why they always just get like footy players and shit like that. It's just like, yeah, Earl won us in 79. He's fucking, yeah, he's pretty good, isn't
What
he?
happened to Shooters and Fishers?
Huh? Shooters and Fishers was their
Teals.
enemies for a while.
But what happened to them? Did they just fall apart?
I don't think they've run nationally. I think they run nationally. I think they run independents in some coastal seats. But like, national seats in rural areas, the only reason that they win is because they are very good at scoping out just like local fucking celebrities and then just sitting there and being like, "You're right, you're running a butcher now, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah, mate, proud of it." And "Yeah, mate, you really kicked there out. You really kicked into getting Josh in 79, didn't you?" "Oh, yeah, those were the glory days, mate." "Yeah, you should just run in politics." "Oh, yeah, you reckon I could have a crack at that?" "You'd be tops, mate. You'd be tops." Then they just put them in and then they just walk. And because it's just like, "Hey, it's Earl from 79. That's how they win.
It works for me.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, it's a completely different thing to what is happening to the Liberal Party. The National Party, they are their own entity. They understand their people very well. It's not boy Liberal. The problem with the Liberal Party is, I think, Okay, I don't know if I discussed this on the previous podcast, and stop me if I have. But dude, this is my grand theory of the Liberal Party that is happening now. The Liberal Party was set up purely to keep the Labor Party out. That is its entire modus operandi. That's it. That is its entire reason for existing. It's just like back in the Federation days, the Protectionist Party and the Free Trade Party realised like we can't just like the business elite realised we can't just keep squabbling about protectionism and free trade. Labor is eating us alive. There's more of them than there is of us. We need to combine our resources and ironically unionise. That created the United Australia Party. They fucked that up by just like literally selling this country to the Japanese. So at some point they realised like, oh, I don't think they represent us. And so they got this humiliating defeat that is like very similar to the votes that we're seeing now. Like that bad for them. And so as a result of that, that broke up. Then they started doing exactly what they're doing now. You had like some little random party in Victoria. You had another one in New South Wales, independents running everywhere. Robert Menzies came along. Everyone fucking hated Robert Menzies because he was the guy that was at United Australia, but he was the one that kind of understood, we can't do this. We need a rebrand. I'm the only one that can do it. He got the business elite together and said, guys, you're going to have to put aside your fucking differences. This is how we're going to win in this country. I am going to give the people of Australia 20% of what Labor would give them to keep them happy. You're going to get 80% of what you want, but you're just going to have to shut the fuck up about the other 20% that you don't get and just put up with it, you know? And that is why, to this day, that's why, Ali, when you told me about the ABC and that guy came on and everyone was laughing at him when he was coming on. It was like a Liberal candidate. And I was just like, what happened, mate? It was like they were pranking him, being like, what happened?
What?
Yeah. Anyway, and then Ali said that the guy goes like, well, I'll tell you what happened. Everyone in the country hates us except old people. And the thing is, if you listen to old people talk about why they vote Liberal, it's because, oh, well, we can't let Labor in. We can't let Labor in. They understand what the game is. They have been conditioned with what used to be just open and out there, and everyone understood it. You're voting Liberal to keep the commies out. That's what you're doing. You're just putting all these differences aside. You're putting on this one big banner, and you are keeping out Labor. That's all the Liberal Party has to do. That's all it has to stand for. In this day and age, I think because of social media, I think because of the rise of narcissism in Australia and just the world, you have these dickhead billionaires, like these Twitter addicts like fucking
Musk?
No, like Gina Reinhart and Simon Holmes à Court that are just sitting there. Simon Holmes à Court threw a tantrum because he's just so fucking full of himself. It's like, well, I'll start my own Liberal Party. I'll start the girls' Liberal Party then. And so he's just been funding that. So they have to fight that to get their seats back. And then on the other side, Gina Reinhart saying, you don't say you like Trump enough. You don't say you like him enough. Pauline does. And so she's giving her money to One Nation. And so what you're seeing here is that the billionaire class, the oligarchs, are so full of themselves. They're so comfortable with how much money they have that they're just sitting there and having these dumb little cultural squibbles amongst each other. Because at the end of the day, that's really the only thing that differentiates any of these parties is cultural differences. And so they're pulling the Liberal Party apart against their own economic interests.
Right.
Okay. I've got a question. So if from today onwards, Liberal Party elects a new leader that's very much like Josh Frydenberg, Malcolm Turnbull, that kind of liberal, does that help them? What happens with that view?
Because
and they completely shun the Barnaby, like the conservative, the boy liberal side.
This is the impossible position they're in because it's like some of the billionaires like boy liberal and some of the billionaires like girl liberal.
Well, clearly,
and how do you put them together?
Well, clearly the fossil fuel billionaires hate girl liberal.
They hate girl
so
liberal.
They're going to be always on the boy liberal side. But if you resist that, is that bad enough that you can never win an election?
That's what I'm saying. What do you do? This is what I'm saying. Like, what does the Liberal Party do? I think what would happen is that things would have to get so bad for the business elite, this is the other thing. I don't think that that'll ever happen in this country again. I don't think it'll ever get bad enough for, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it'd get bad enough for people like Gina Reinhart and Simon Holmes à Court to put their differences aside and just funnel their money into the same large tent party anymore. I don't think it's there. Like, back in the day, yeah, because there was like so few avenues to make money, but this is the genius thing that people like I didn't understand this until I started reading about it. Dude, Paul Keating and Bob Hawke made this country so fucking rich and so easy to make money in this country. Why would you join politics? What's the point? Like in third world countries, for instance, you join politics because one of the only ways to make money is that you can get in on the patronage system and then divert government contracts into your businesses, right? In this country, you don't have to do that. In fact, it's difficult to do that in this country because we've got such high anti-corruption laws. So, like, Keating's just like, out you go, there you go, there's the banking industry, go out there, there's high finance, go to there. If you've got half a fucking brain and you're part of the elite private school system, why would you go into politics for your 200 grand a year to sit there and listen to old grandmas ring you up and be like, Optus is being mean to me? Like, why would you do that? So like, you can see this happening where you had a very talented front bench with Howard. You had a very talented, like the Howard, like, you know, Philip Ruddock, Peter Costello. These were all capable, competent liberals. Where are they now? Where are they? Where's the next crop? This was
maybe they're sitting on the backbench and no one knows about them.
I can guarantee you that's not the case.
Or maybe they're at Sydney Uni and UNSW Young Liberal Society, giving it to the Abbey Chatfields of the university.
They're too busy getting laid.
I don't know if they get laid the most, to be fair.
I was joking.
Yeah, okay.
So, like, dude, where do they, like, there's no incentive to join the Liberal Party if you're part of, like, that business elite class that, like, kept the Liberal Party going and the blood pumping into it. There's no incentive for it. You can see it from, like, Howard had a vision. Howard knew where to take the country in the favour of his people. He was Menzies number 2. He got it. He understood. He fundamentally changed the soul of this country. But then the next ones that came after him, the next generation, what was it? It was Tony Abbott. Yeah, he was a really good opposition leader. There was no vision in his government whatsoever. None. No thought of how to implement. The knighthood. That's what I'm talking about. Dude, he's just a man that was just obsessed with the monarchy. That was it. That was their first prime minister. Yeah. Then you have Malcolm Turnbull. Malcolm Turnbull just wanted it as a resume. Yeah. Just, I was prime minister of Australia. Yeah. Then he was very happy with that. And then you had Scott Morrison, who's a guy from the fucking marketing department. Marketing. Like, this is the next crop of liberals. Yeah. And then Peter Dutton is part of that crop. And then the next crop after that are even dumber. This is what's incredible.
Who is next? I don't even know who's next.
I don't either.
There's no
There's no one there. They're done.
Taylor?
There's no brains left there. Some brains are in the Teals. There's some brains like operating that, but they're inexperienced, and also they're just like they're a ragtag operation that are kind of just like, you know, weekend operators. Like they still have their fucking big finance businesses that they're running and shit.
How did they go seat wise? The Teals, well, right?
They maybe gained 1 seat, and they've probably lost 2.
Well, they did most of the damage last election anyways. So as long as they didn't lose, again, they have the delusion
in their head that they could have just kept expanding, and like they don't understand.
Dude, the way the Liberals are going, it's not an unreasonable thought to have.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
they could wipe out the Liberals from the cities. You might have like a few outer suburb seats that still will be Liberal.
They can't be in their current form. That's the other thing. Like, they can't just continue on with this charade that they're independents. They're eventually going to have to become a party and drop it all together.
Okay, so that's the question. People have been advocating that Teals form a party. What do you think about that? The Climate 200 party or whatever.
Yeah, away you go. Do it. And again, it's the same problem. Like, you're basically creating the protectionist and the free trade party. Like, that really is sort of, in a way, what is happening here. It's just like basically the mining companies are saying, like, we want to have our fucking like monopoly clench hold on this country still. And then you've got all the high financiers.
But that's the closest I've ever seen a Lane Cove seat.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, that's basically marginal now.
Dude,
that's marginal now.
That's insane.
Dude, Labour
44%.
Labour won huge.
10%.
Labour won my seat.
Yeah.
They haven't won that since the 90s.
Dude, they weren't expecting to win it.
So much so that last election, 2022 election, the guy from the campaign manager for Hughes, he called on the pod. Somehow I spoke to him. I can't remember if it was like on the pod or he privately messaged me. And he said, I know you're from the area and whatever, and would you like to campaign for us and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, I'd be happy to do that, but you're never going to win this seat, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is just, this is like, are we just trying to make us feel better? And it was like, no, we could get this. And I was like, you're out of your mind.
I know.
They won.
And they won.
That's
and
crazy.
comfortably.
And if I had agreed, I could have been, I don't know, like a staffer or
Campaign
something.
manager, yeah.
You blew it.
I blew it, dude. That guy. But man, he had way more confidence in Hughes than I did. But I think that's also because, by the way,
Well, also Cook. You know, the bald Simon, the red bald Simon. Red bald Simon, you know what his campaign contribution was from Labor HQ? You know what he got?
What?
60 call flutes.
Huh?
Those signs that just have his face on it.
yeah.
And like, that one, Simon.
Yeah.
You got 60 of
The
those.
right Simon.
No
That's
money,
it.
nothing.
What?
There you go. That's it. Because it's Scott Morrison's seat. They had no idea.
Yeah.
Dude, it's marginal now. He could fucking win it next time
Is it
around.
the same difference? Like 10% difference?
Yeah, it's closer than that. It's like within 7%.
That's
what do you think?
Win it.
That's
what do you
crazy.
think? Here's another thing. What do you think about the aspect that the country or the regional areas are hemorrhaging people, and they're moving more to the cities, and so the city politics is now dominating Australian politics. So let's take my own electorate, Hughes, for example, right? Labor won Hughes, and yes, it was because there was a swing towards Labor and everything. But another thing is they absorbed a lot of areas, if you know the area, Ingleburn area, which is migrant communities, and so that got absorbed into Hughes, which just tells you that the city population is just increasing. So obviously these things are going to happen. How much of that has had a role to play in this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now the Liberal Party is just another national party. There's no Labor heartland. There's no Liberal heartland anymore. They're basically non-existent in cities. They barely exist there now.
Who? The Libs.
The Libs.
Really?
They are more or less a rural party. So Ali's spot on the money. And so you've got two rural parties now. And that's what I'm saying, man. Like, it's just like... And the other thing, I'm telling you, this is a huge problem.
He who wins the suburbs of Australia wins
Australia.
the election. Straight up. Like,
absolutely.
It's that simple now.
Yep. And, man, I'm sorry. It's just true. Anybody that has a brain goes to the Labor Party. The Greens are filled with rabid, narcissistic psychos. The Liberals, just a complete talentless bank of nothings. The Nationals, they're just durs from the Nationals that like identify with other durs. There's no one. There is no one. Like this is what's happened. Anyone that is serious about governing, I swear to God, this is an onset of the Hawke Keating years. Anyone that goes into governing who actually cares about public service, who cares about what government actually is, they're all pulling into the Labor Party. And if you have that, if you just have all the brains in one party, no other party can do anything. You need intelligent people to win elections. You need that.
Okay, speaking of intelligent people to win elections, what do you think about Adam Bant and him losing his seat? What's your view on the Greens? Let's talk about that now.
Okay.
What happened with them? First off, this is something that I want to know. I think I know your answer, but I want you to repeat it because I don't trust you. What is the reason for the Greens' decline, according to you?
According to me?
You think it's the maths and the housing stuff, right?
I think it is a combination of the fact that, one, they made their entire election pitch pretty much just around Palestine. And I think that the average person looks at that and is just like, we're in Australia. What do you want us to do about it? Like, this is cost of living you're supposed to be affecting us. There was that. They were running hard on Palestine. So they got some swing in the suburbs and they give themselves some consolation to that. But most of that swing just went to independent Muslim candidates. So they didn't even win that, really. Like, it's just some tiny protest vote, like 1% increase here, 2% increase there. They got that. In the inner suburbs, there was a big push away from them. And I think it is a combination of the fact that they were just absolutely obstructionist and people hated that. And then the other thing that I think it was is, dude, people vote for the Greens on vibe. They... Again, 1 out of 3 voters don't know who Adam Bandt is. I'm talking Greens voters. 1 out of 3 Greens voters, they vote on it on vibe. They vote on it on the thought that they're like morally superior for voting for the Greens. They think it's like this Labor plus party. So if that is your brand, the best thing for you to do is to just shut the fuck up. Not be such a narcissist as to butt your head into every single national debate there is, like Adam Bandt did, like Max Chandler Mather did, where they actually find out who you are and realise, oh, you're a detestable cunt. Like you are just such an egotistical, full of yourself, nerdy little piece of shit, and like I don't identify with you. There's some
Are they
people
both
in the
gone?
inner city that do.
They're both gone. Who are you happier that they're gone? Adam Bandt or Max Chandler?
Oh God, don't make me choose. Honestly, I think it's just so sweet that Adam Bandt left because he did not expect that he was going to lose his seat.
Yeah.
I know that.
I don't think he still expects it, even though he's lost his seat.
Exactly. He's still in denial. That's the best thing about reading all the Greens, because you listen to the Greens and they're throwing this massive tantrum. Their whole thing endlessly is always just like, people just don't know how preferences work. You always see that go massively viral on TikTok. You just don't know how preferences work.
You got to give Peter Dutton credit. That guy conceded before the election was over.
Exactly. Well, he had no choice.
I mean, he could have. He could have been that guy on the ABC. He's like,
it's not over till it's over.
Let's just wait for the electoral votes to come in.
I heard about that guy. I wish I saw it.
Dude, he kept saying that.
I foolishly chose Channel 9 as my...
I was watching all of them simultaneously. And every time he was asked a question, he'd be like, just wait
That's
for...
what I heard.
Wait for the electoral, the postal votes to come in.
Yeah, I heard that.
I hate saying this,
I heard
but
that.
this is going to all change.
Yeah.
And dude, like 3 hours in, they were saying like, this is a landslide. It was like, the votes still haven't been counted, guys.
Yeah.
It was just a man.
Weren't they just being like, okay, so that seat's fallen. Do you concede that? He's like, well, define fallen.
Define sheet.
I'm shitting right now. Are you saying I'm in a sheet?
This is a sheet. I'm a liberal. This is a liberal game as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that guy's...
I heard about that. I didn't watch him.
Yeah,
I was
watched him.
stuck
That
on.
guy
I was stuck
he?
on Peter Overton with like.
Oh, was it Peter Overton running the show? Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
With like a couple of members though. It was like 2 liberal. I mean, I suppose the same.
Yeah,
as
they were.
Labour.
Jim Chalmers was on there. Jim Chalmers, the guy, he gave up because I think he realized pretty soon that the Liberals are getting hammered. So when the guy kept saying like, let's just wait for the electoral, the pre-votes to come in, Jim Chalmers just sitting there is like, look, just don't bully him too much. He's having a rough time.
See, that's what you can see. This is what like I think is like another big win for like everyone in Labor. You saw the same thing with the Channel 7 coverage. Dude, they're so gracious.
Albo too, when they booed.
Yeah,
he was like, "We don't do that.
We don't do that here." Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, you had Bill Shorten sitting there saying to like, I think it was Catherine Ham or some shit, and she was sitting there, but she's like, "This was a very dishonest campaign by Labor," and he's just like, "Don't be a sore loser. Look, when I lost, look, I know it hurts. It's not, but
that's
you know,
nice.
come on,
That's
like it's
nice.
not all. It's not the Australian public's fault. You know, like they're just nicer people, and I think that's man, my Central Coast family. Dyed in the wool Howard voters. All voted for Anthony Albanese.
Wow.
All said the same thing that I was saying there. It was just like you look at the front bench of Labor and you see 5 or 6 prime ministers in the waiting. You look at the front bench of the Liberals and it's just like, who the fuck else is there other than Dutton? And also saying they just seem like nice, competent people. And our local member is Labor, and he was really nice to us. And like every time we ever like asked him one of our dumb little annoying questions, he'd get onto it. And like they get it. Like this is the competent party now.
Yeah, a few Liberals, dude, long-time Liberal voters voted Labor this time around, and I think part of it. I'm taking one person's example.
They've still got the anti-communist.
But I think like before the Trump election in the US, there was a lot of emotional views on stuff where it's like, this PC police has gone too much. This is all nonsense. We're gonna stop this. And so there was a bit of an emotional vote. And when people saw the first 100 days of Trump govern, they were like, let's just not be emotional right now.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that.
How much of this do you think can? Because this is the first election. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was the first election where the youth kind of It was a youth majority in regards to like boomers and stuff. It was a majority youth turnout. How much of that had an effect?
Oh, well, that's the other thing. It's just like, yes, the Liberal Party is fucked because of that, but that is, give it 2 or 3 more election cycles for that to really kick in.
Right.
Nah, dude, I disagree with that. And that's something that I need to tell Labor voters as well. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that this whole, like, the youth is for Labor and Liberals are doomed forever. To the youth, young people change their views all the time.
Yeah.
Like the same population that is like for Labor right now, Andy Peter Dutton, I would not be surprised that next election time around, the vibe is for the Conservatives and they go switch over.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude,
so they're fickle.
The idea
fickle
that,
as shit.
the idea.
But no. But the thing is, okay, that's true. But also, Ali, and this is something that needs to be put onto that, is yes, they're fickle, but they are the generation that is most likely to listen to reason. As in, other people are just like, nah, I'm voting Liberal because that's what my dad did. Like, that was previous generations. This generation is just like, whatever's in front of me in Google. Like, that's pretty much it. And so they do actually listen to arguments.
Right.
They listen to the argument and they will change their opinion on that. So, yes, that's true, but it's also true that, like, they do deserve credit for listening to logic and reason. Not all of them.
Right.
Look, hopefully you're right. I just think that generations have progressively gotten worse, honestly.
I think so too. Honestly, like that one saving grace. This is the whole thing that I noticed when I started just relentlessly posting on TikTok. This is the whole thing. The reason that the Greens were just absolutely dominating TikTok is just because you had all the influencers endlessly talking, parroting their talking points, and then you said something that wasn't parroting their talking points, and then they'd shame you massively, but you just stand your ground and just be like, fuck you, you're wrong. And they'd be like, oh, okay, maybe I am wrong. You know, they do change.
That's
on
hopeful.
that.
Let's
And this is something that the Greens have always worked on, which is just like endlessly bullying people, but they're actually weak as shit. And so if you just stand your ground and just be like, fuck you, they're just kind of like, oh, we're supposed to be working together. Like they just move to that immediately.
Right.
So, do you know what happens? Like, so the first time that you did it, they'd just be very smug and just be like, you're a Labor shill. And then you'd say it again. And then they'd just be like, I think that the Greens and Labor should be working together. And then you'd say it again. And then they'd just be like, well, I guess the Greens just need to get their act together. They'll change quickly. Like what you're saying.
And the last thing, condolences to Clive. The man is still saintless.
Dude, give him one seat. So much money.
What is that man's game plan?
He doesn't have one. He doesn't have one.
He's 71. That's his game plan.
Dude, just give it to charity. It's like,
That's what he's doing now. He's just like, I'm not going to do any politics anymore. I'm just going to give it to charity.
oh, that's nice.
He's not going to do that.
You reckon he's back?
When he means charity, he means
Nickel mines.
no pressure groups that support the Liberal Party.
Yeah, that's what he means. Yeah.
For nickel mining, policies. That's
Dude,
what he means.
You know what
by
I
charity.
liked? The one piece of media coverage I saw about Clive Palmer was like the one moment that Clive did an interview during the election. It like hard cut to him and he was just wolfing down a Kit Kat, just like.
Oh, so good. All right, he deserves a seat for that. He definitely deserved a seat.
Yeah, also there was a bit of confusion whether Clive Palmer is the leader or what's his name?
Some chick?
No,
Some chick.
the US guy, the journalist. Tucker
Oh,
Carlson.
Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, they don't know
Yes.
Tucker Carlson was the leader.
A
What's going
a big thinker. Yeah, the big thinker.
The
Tucker.
big thinkers.
I just admired this man, Clive Palmer. Jesus. So does this mean that like Friendly Jorders can finally make the inevitable transition to being a full-time cooking show or what?
Yeah, I know. Like, dude, I
Warhammer.
really want to go out. Look, I want to do one final ethnic cleansing of Greens and Teals. I really just want to wipe them off the map and just absolutely brush them aside.
Interesting choice
Good
of
old
words. Interesting choice of
Azerbaijani
words.
style. Out you go, using the broom.
Jesus Christ.
Bye.
We don't. We here at Friendly Jordies support a vibrant democracy with many opinions, all sides of the aisle.
Honestly, I'm very optimistic about that because the Teals have just built up so much political infrastructure. Like you can see it with all the influencers. You can see it with just the fact that like all of a sudden politics is a thing online. The thing is that their arguments are dog shit because again, what the Greens and the Teals don't understand is they are the same fucking person. Like they're basically just aimed at fucking upper middle class voters.
Right.
And their arguments are wrong. And their arguments are, and like, you know, you could run those arguments when you control the media entirely, but they're just building up this media infrastructure that basically gives me the final say on everything because I can ruin their arguments, every last one of them. There is nothing that they have in their corner, nothing. They are a completely soulless entity, both of them.
Yeah.
Lastly, what do you think about the Liberal point of view that the reason why we lost is because there's just too many renters in Australia?
What?
There's too many renters here.
So who
So
said that?
basically, once you own property, you start thinking of this. This is not my view. This is the Liberal view, that you start thinking of the economy on a long-term basis because you have an investment.
Who created that in the first place? The fuckheads.
Yeah, well,
That's entirely them.
yeah. I also don't think it's true. I don't think like just because you're a renter doesn't mean you want to like blow up the economic order for fun.
Well, but
I
that
don't
is
think it's true either.
well, I don't know if that's true, but that first point's the main point. It's like you created the mess.
You created the mess, so
You know?
you enjoy it. You enjoy the spoils.
Yeah.
There you go. And everyone knows that it's you. You could try to run your little co-ops campaign of just having Peter Dutton sit there and be like, oh, the reason is because of migration. No one in our generation thinks that. They all know it was Howard's fault.
Well, there might play some role.
Yeah.
I mean,
they'll say it plays some role, but I think
Yeah.
that generally our generation understands this is the Liberal
But
Party.
it's also something like, dude, migrants, unless you're like low socioeconomic migrant or you're like a really recent migrant, Liberal Party gets a lot of support from them. The Chinese population traditionally votes Liberal Party. The Indian population is voting Liberal Party. This time around, Peter Dutton just alienated them. First of all, Chinese were freaked out that Peter Dutton's going to pick a fight with Xi Jinping, which is going to not necessarily be good for them culturally, but also just economically it'll be devastating for us, which I think is the right call by them. And then you had the rest of them who were just like, oh, he's just going to deport us. Like, don't do that, and the multicultural communities will vote for you, like, because they love money more than Australians do, believe it or not.
Yeah. And that's obviously what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to build into the migrant community somehow. That's
It's very
step
interesting
one,
to
but-
see
They
where
can't.
they can
It's
go.
so easy to just give them $20 off, and they'll vote for you.
Yeah.
Like in the polling. But like it is interesting to see where the Libs will go now, because like you said, there's no like big ideas, there's no bright minds. It just seems like
No
it's
bright
like,
minds. And on top of that, I'm telling you, they're getting period from both sides on themselves. Like they have, you know, Labor has the Greens. They have two Greens.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, dude, the other thing as well, this is the other thing that's incredible, right? I was really scared because, oh my God, you should hear the cope that the Greens have been coming out with. It's incredible. First off, they were saying, like, we expanded our vote, and then more votes came in, and they realised they've gone backwards in their vote. And so it doesn't matter about the lower house when they had this 18-year plan to becoming the new Labor Party.
Right.
And now they've got one seat in the lower house.
Really?
Yeah. And that hasn't even been
Did they
called
gain
yet.
one in the Senate though, or something?
Maybe they've gained one in the Senate.
Right.
Maybe. But the thing is,
Did
that
One Nation do well in the Senate? Didn't they? Or something? I
they,
don't know.
yeah, but they maybe again might win one seat. I'll tell you who did really well in the Senate: Labor. So the reason that like now, before you had to negotiate to get anything passed either with the Liberals or you had to negotiate with the Greens and the crossbench, and the Greens and the crossbench both wanted different things. And so it was just impossible to fucking get anything done. Now it's either the Greens or the Liberals. That's who they have to negotiate with. And the reason for that is because the Labor Party was so successful in the Senate that they took all the seats that were pretty much up for grabs. I mean, fuck me, you should see the numbers. It's just, it's embarrassing. It's like 3 seats in fucking New South Wales, possibly 3 in Victoria, 3 in South Australia. Like, they're just killing it, you know? And so they're bringing it all. They've wiped out the crossbench. It's just the Greens, just the Liberals, and they're sitting there and saying, like, we've got balance of power now, so we're just going to make everything super progressive and all this kind of shit. But really, the reality is, before, they could hide behind, oh, it's the crossbench that is stopping all of this obstructionist behaviour. It's not us. Now it's just solely on them. And this is terrible for them because now, if they keep up their obstructionist tactics, which I can guarantee you is the reason that they lost momentum in the inner city, they don't like that. They like the idea that the Greens make the Labor Party better. They like that idea. They fundamentally proven that that's a complete scam. They can't do that anymore. They might. It depends on who their leader is and if they're stupid enough to do it. But then the other thing is, man, if they just sit there and rubber stamp everything that the Labor Party does, which they probably will end up doing, because at the end of the day, they don't give a shit about the environment or anything. They just care about keeping their seat.
Seat, not seats.
Seat.
One, singular.
Damn.
If they just sit there and rubber stamp everything that the Labor Party does, the public will just figure out what the scam is and just think, like, what the fuck's the point of you? You know? So they're caught in a rock and a hard place as well. They're caught in a rock and a hard place. What do they do?
If you had to, how long do the parties get to like elect a leader? There has to be a leader of the opposition. How long do they have?
I don't know. I think
There's
they
no
can do it
time
forever.
limit.
There's
Yeah,
no
they
time
can-
limit. They could go to the next election without an opposition leader.
Really?
Really disorganized.
Yeah, you don't
Who's-
even need it.
So who argues with Albo in Parliament? Or they take turns?
Just whatever. Well, what they do now, they just get up and they're like, my question to the Prime Minister. You said that the milk network would be up in Toowoomba, and it is. But it was a bit late.
It was.
What have you got to say for
I've
yourself?
showered on this policy. What do you have to say for yourself? Who do you think it'll be? If you had to guess, that Adam, what's his name? What's his name?
Angus Taylor.
Angus Taylor.
I mean, man,
He's-
it's Angus Taylor. Fuck me.
He's
dead.
definitely not getting in. Dude, if Angus Taylor is the next opposition leader, R.I.P. Liberal Party, I can tell you that much.
The girl, the female who's
Yeah, it could be her.
yeah.
It could be.
Yeah, it could be her.
It could be Susan Lee. And again, like a talentless nobody that basically relegates them to just being the Greens. This is what I'm really happy about. I think the Labor Party has kind of just made the argument correctly. And I think that I actually helped a lot with that. But I think that it's just like, this is the party of serious governance. And the reason that I think that is purely just anecdotal. My grandma, lifelong Liberal voter, loves Anthony Albanese. Now, why is that? It's purely because that generation likes the idea of adults being in charge. They're not like aligned to a party. They like the idea of adults.
Dude, Albo is so boss. Not only did he beat all the parties, but he also knocked out the two leaders of the opposing parties as well.
It's crazy.
So what he
I really
is
like him
truly
too.
a king now.
Yeah, I really like him too, just as a person.
And after how long has this been?
He's been in there forever. He's been in politics forever.
No, but like I'm saying, like the same guy winning a second election in a row.
Oh, it was
Bob Hawke, right?
Hawke or Howard or something. Yeah,
Last
Labour.
Labor.
Labour,
Hawke.
yeah,
it was
yeah,
Hawke.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Hawke.
This is the second time.
The
This is the
80s. That was the last time.
Albanese could go down as one of the
king.
greatest Labor
And he
leaders.
des- and he
of all
deserves-
Well, what he
and he
will
deserves
definitely
it.
go down as, is reverse Howard. And what I'm really excited about with these election results is, he's going to be Labor's Howard. And I think that that is a perfect role model to have because, again, Howard changed the soul of this country. You give that guy 4 terms, and he's absolutely fucking guaranteed himself that.
He's gonna be like a
calling it now. He's won the next 2 elections.
Whoa.
Like you can't take back that, especially if you're not doing crazy shit like Rudd was trying to do. If you're just steering the course like Howard did and slowly steering the ship, you're going to be in for 4 terms. And that's a minimum, by the way, because again, the Liberal Party has to rebuild itself at this point. Like, where the fuck do they go from here is the next... That's going to be 1 term. What the fuck are we? Is 1 term of theirs. The next one will just be like, okay, we're this clown show opposition of inexperienced twats. You know, like, and on top of this, you have a really primed, ready to go electoral winning machine in the Labor Party. And the thing is...
And Labor Party has like, dude, if Albo goes, I can name you at least 4 or 5 people that would be just as good.
Just as good.
And replace him.
Just as
you
good.
get Tony
yeah.
Burke, you got
Yep.
Tanya Plebiscite,
Yep.
you've got Jim
Penny
Chalmers,
Wong. Penny Wong would
you've
be
got
good.
Penny Wong. 4 people.
Chris Bowen.
Chris Bowen
would be a freak.
recognizable names as well. Like
Yes.
you don't have to convince people like these people exist.
Yeah.
People know they exist. I can't think of Susan Lee. Yeah, that's it.
Susan Lee.
Yeah.
And she is... Let's put it this way. She's no Tanya Plibiscite.
No, she's not. Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And that's the whole thing about Bant as well. This is something that you need to understand about the Greens. The Greens are basically made up, and Max Chandler Mather was exactly the same thing. It is entirely made up of narcissists that couldn't recognize or couldn't accept. Like, I think they recognize, I'm no Chris Bowen. You know, they just saw like Chris Bowen in Parliament just ripping the opposition to shreds every day. Tony Burke doing the same thing, Penny Wong, and they realised that's not me. And these guys are on the front bench. They're not the fucking Prime Minister. Like, I am not in the front benches class. I'm not in the back benches class. In the Greens, I can be the leader. you know? And that's why you look at Adam Bant and you think about it and it's just like, he's not really that much of a brain. He's not that much of a charmer. He doesn't understand parliamentary tactics that well. That's why you have the Greens. This is what I'm talking about. Like, that level of competence just isn't fucking there. And as a result of that, I really do think that we have the opportunity here to completely change this nation. And that is really cool.
That's crazy.
That is
Damn,
really
that's
cool.
crazy.
Like, the grand vision of the Labor Party will once again be reinstated. which
Dude,
is
you know what I am? And this is a point that you've been
What?
making a lot as well.
No, it's just like, yeah.
I am really excited about Trump basically
Flipping
refusing
the world.
the renewable energy investments in the US, because I was genuinely
Yeah.
scared of that before, because that was our
Yeah.
plan. It was our plan. We
Yes.
wanted to do that.
Yes.
And then
And then
Biden
Biden
comes
stole it.
along and he's like, we're going to do it. And I was like, yeah, well, we can't compete with your trillions of dollars. Okay, fine. That's sad. But then Trump comes along and he
Axes
tells
it.
them, dude, we're back in business.
We are
We've got a
now.
labor majority.
Yes, we do.
During a time when we've got future made in Australia, while there's not many countries in the world that are attracting renewable
Damn,
investment.
maybe
at
we
the same
can
time.
become the great nation we always could have been, like the Dubai of down here, but
Well,
like, you know,
yeah, dude.
not evil.
You
whatever.
know what's exactly.
That'd be
With
sick.
see, this is the whole thing.
I don't
But
want to
also,
work anymore.
This is what I.
Well,
And you won't. You won't. You will just be one of those Saudi, like, children of Saudis that get, like, their fucking $3,000 a month to study finance.
Albert, I just want a tiger. All I want's a tiger. All right? Is that too much to ask?
Damn. The grand vision of the Labour Party.
and Albo will say,
Tigers.
and Albo will say,
Tigers, dude.
Mislav wants your tiger,
Tigers for all.
and he's got one in a prime minister.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
That's gold.
Except on the field. I hate the Tigers on the
Yeah,
field.
yeah. Banish all the way.
Banish all the way, mate.
Yeah.
And Peter done paper tiger.
Yeah, from his living room
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
Sky News.
Yeah, and then everyone goes, who?
Yeah, what's his job? What's his
that?
new job now? Like,
Consulting,
what's
surely.
Peter Dutton doing?
No, I don't think he needs to do anything.
Do you think he'll?
I think he'll be okay.
Do you think
with
he's
his
gonna be?
300 million.
Do you think he's gonna be a cop
300.
again?
Who knows, huh?
Can you imagine he's a cop again? He pulls you over.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
And also, he's he's in
I'm
Sydney.
the Prime Minister in this city.
No, but he stays in Sydney because he's like, wants to work near Parliament House. He's like, I can still be on the beat down here, you know, control the street.
Yes.
Just like
Give him
drinking.
intel.
Just macing the shit out of Labour voters.
Yeah, just like, come here. Yeah. Fuck. He'd be happy
But
just
like,
doing that.
dude, like this. You know what? Like, man, I was thinking about this so much recently. Okay. First off, you had Jack Lang, who and actually to his credit, James Scullin at the time.
Can you just really quickly reinforce, just in case my mum is watching, that he was like the anti-communist party?
Yeah, dude.
Can you just mention that?
Okay, just so you know, Miss Love's mum. Just so you know,
Love you.
Jack Lang, hero of the Labor Party, is most famous for his book, and I quote, "Communism is treason." That is the name of his book. They are not, the Labor Party is not, the only reason you don't have a communist movement in Australia is because of the Labor Party. They are so anti-communist, it's not funny. Communists have tried to infiltrate them in the past, and they have been very unsuccessful.
Well, okay, so now that we've spoken to Miss Love's mum, because that is the most important aspect of the podcast, we are running out of time, but we need to do one more thing, because this is a request by a fan, and they want us to rate. So today, I think today or yesterday was the Met Gala, and because we're like such fashionistas,
Yes.
we are going to rate
Just when I
the
thought-
dresses out of 1 to 10.
Just when I thought this was substantial.
But just before we,
It's a substantive pod, we've
been on the election for over an hour, so we can do this as well. So I just want to ensure
We should let him finish his point though, real quick. Lang, just that Lang was.
Oh, okay.
Just
Steal Miss Love's mom. Pay attention
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Go on.
Okay.
and you get that up.
Labor's always just had like their little ins and outs in politics. What is incredible about the Labor Party is that it created a vehicle for the working class in this country, for the true minds of the working class in this country to do something and affect the world, right? Which most other countries didn't have. If you were just poor in virtually any other country, even European countries, and you were part of the working class and you were like Paul Keating or Jack Lang or some shit like that,
Yeah.
you're just a fucking chimney sweep and you die at 16. That's what happens to you if you're part of the working class, right? But the fact that the unions created a party that sort of like allowed an avenue for intellect from the working class to rise up and actually affect this country, we are so much better for it. Like if you think about it, Jack Lang and James Scullin, back in the Great Depression, this is incredible, guys. They invented Keynesianism before Keynes did. Think about that.
Yeah.
They're fucking premiers and prime ministers in their spare time that are just like, oh, actually, I've got this grand economic theory.
Right.
Like, sorry.
And the other great thing about Jack Lang is, and this is a pro tip for all those immigrants out there, have you ever gone to places where you're a little bit afraid of the demographics and you think you might be a victim of racism? Let me tell you one thing. If you wear a Lang Gang shirt, all of those people will come and think you're the greatest content ever.
Available at friendlyjordies.com.
It's crazy. It's like you wear a Jack Lang shirt and then like cops, you know, people that you're like normally afraid of are going to be like, now that's a Sikh cunt.
Is
He
this
knows what's
really? Are
up.
you speaking from experience?
Yeah, of course. Why? Yes, I'm talking about experience.
Damn, that's crazy. They're
Dude,
educated.
I
Dude,
there.
again, my grandma, classic Liberal voter all the way through. Jack Lang, greatest man that ever lived.
I wore the Lang Gang shirt while I was getting vaccinated for COVID, and because we were like in a massive queue, right? There was like hundreds of people in this queue for the vaccination. Dude, so many people came up to me because of that shirt, and always like real hardcore white cunts.
Yeah,
That's crazy. 'Cause I wouldn't
yeah.
have before him. I wouldn't have known who the hell he was.
Nah,
but
dude, he had like a Trump-like reputation. Jack.
Right.
Yeah, he wanted to secede from Australia. He wanted to make New South Wales its own country. He never said that, but he kind of wanted
Jesus.
that.
Right. Well, but your point is it's a rich tapestry of intellect.
Well, yeah, no, but then, like, you know, you have Keating that comes up. And again, like, dude, you look at Paul Keating now, like, he's too ashamed to be on TV because he doesn't want Australia to remember him like this. But the man can't walk and he's hobbled over like he's really
Jesus.
old, you know? Why is that?
Why?
Because he grew up in abject poverty.
Oh, I thought
Right.
because he was just really old.
Yeah, but, like, you know, Trump's really old.
Dude, Trump is a medical marvel. We have to admit this.
He is a medical marvel.
A man that
He's
solely survives on pizza toppings.
Yeah. I was thinking
He's
about it. I think it's
way
going to
too
live.
fit.
Dude, I think Trump's going to live to like 110. He'll be one
Yeah,
of
me
those
too.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. And be president the whole time.
But yeah, but Keating had some pretty broad reform.
Well, not only that, the man pretty much thought that he could beat history. This is what's like fucked about Keating, that like, dude, you really need to understand, Keating is a once in a lifetime genius. There will never be anyone like him ever again. Nothing.
Yeah.
There's not going to be anything like him. He's just world class. He's so world class that that's what his goal was. And it's incredible that like every time I think, okay, I think I get Keating, you read more about him and you realize, dude, no one is on that cunt's level.
Keating reminds me of a quote. This happened in like the 70s, early 70s, late 60s. A Pakistani prime minister went to the US and I think he met JFK, so it must have been the 60s. He met JFK and JFK was impressed by him. And he said, he was the foreign minister at the time, later on became the prime minister of Pakistan. JFK said, if you were an American, you would be in my cabinet. And this guy responds, if I was an American, you would be in my cabinet.
Yeah.
And Paul Keating has that personality.
Right.
Paul Keating could be the head of state of any country in the world.
Any
Yeah,
country.
right.
And they'd be lucky to have him.
Any job,
Right.
anything. Anything. He would
Definitely a
absolutely
big thinker. I mean, even just super. That's enough. That's enough of a legacy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Super's enough of a lease. Why?
Yeah.
Because it makes the working class the investor class.
Yeah.
Like that in itself. And actually like was just like, okay, the unions are obviously going to decline over time. They're doing it across the world. We are going to make unions the head of the finance world, which is exactly what fucking happened. You know, that man basically got the game. It's so dumb. All the Redditors are like, he's neoliberal and shit like that. You don't understand. That guy thought that he could beat capitalism at its own game. And if he was like a fucking Chinese dictator or something like that, he would have fucking done it. You give him 20 years, you give him 30 years, he would have done it. You know, he is a genius.
He was like
That
Lee
guy.
Kuan Yew level genius.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only man that he respects.
Lee Kuan
Yew.
Yew?
That's it. That's the only guy that he's ever just like that guy knew
So
what
the best ever. Yeah, he gets respect. No one else.
No one else.
Lee Kuan Me?
Lee Kuan Me. All right.
No, that's.
I hope you
look,
enjoyed the election.
But again, sorry, just as a big summary, I just need to say this one point. The Labor Party made it possible for those brains from the working class to have an avenue. And as a result, we are far richer for it. The globe is far richer for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's an incredible accomplishment in itself that I've never thought of before. Like, purely the fact that the working party's there, and then the working class just cobbles all of its money together and then just gets the greatest minds that it can out of the working class to represent them. Like, what a beautiful thing
It
that
is.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it's very actually like actually what it is a meritocracy, really,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is what the conservatives all talk
Claim
about.
that they have.
Yeah.
Where it's just, no, you just went to fancy schools. That's it. Anyway.
I hope
Crazy.
you
It's
enjoyed the election decompress.
Crazy, man.
Last thing that we're doing is again rating the Met Gala thing. So I just want to tell you the theme of the thing, so we know what we're rating. The 2025 Met Gala theme is super fine tailoring black style. I hope you understand exactly what that
I
means.
don't, but I've
No,
already,
I don't.
But
I'm scared.
I've already seen
The
some
theme,
of these. So.
the theme is inspired by Monica L. Miller's 2009 book Slaves to Fashion: Black Dandyism and the Styling of Black Diasporic Identity. It coincides with opening of the new exhibition in the gallery, which will present a cultural historical examination of Black Dandy, the Met says. That's the theme for.
Wish I bought my glasses. I've already seen some of these,
You have?
but keen to see again.
All right.
What is the Met? I don't know what this thing is. Is
The
it
Met.
what is that? Isn't it a baseball team?
So that's the first
Okay, so
one.
that's Michael Jackson.
That's that's Rihanna, by the way, and also big news. She's sporting her baby bump. This is the first time we found out that she's pregnant.
Oh my
How
god!
old is she? Like 48?
No, I
No,
don't
she's
think
probably in like her 30s. She's probably our age, dude.
Well,
Maybe younger.
She's got the funeral vibe down. Is it? You know,
So
She
rated
looks
out
like
of
that
10.
ghost that Chase missed. Like, when he was
it
12.
actually pretty much does. That's what it looked like.
So rated out of 10. How much?
Like,
A 1?
is this on like in terms of rating out of 10? Is it just like in the context of the gala or just Earth?
In the context of Gala, assuming that you're a famous fashion designer,
Oh, it's just not my world. I don't know. Maybe like 5 out of 10.
I would give this a 7.
Okay.
Jordan, come on.
Jesus, you're generous. I'm giving it a 1.
One.
crap.
Okay. What do you think about that?
I'm
Now-
gonna go 7 for that.
I don't
Well,
know
it looks
about.
post-apocalyptic.
It looks good. Look, I like it. I don't know if the theme is matching. I don't know a lot about the theme, but that's a good. I will give this an 8.
Yeah, it looks cool. I'm giving it an 8.
Yeah, I'll go 7.
7.
What
1.
the?
1, dude. Just the dress is actually nice.
I'll go. No, I'm gonna go like 5.
Dude,
I'm
it
not.
is always just very Hunger Gamesy, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not into that 5.
6.
Okay. It is Hunger
It's like a
Games.
stupid
Whoa.
movie.
Dang.
Okay, 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like.
I don't know what the hell that
I'm gonna
is.
go
So she
like-
just didn't abide by the theme at all.
I'm gonna go like 8.
Yeah,
That's
because she
good.
looks like one of those Amongst Us things or whatever it is. Among Us.
King.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go an 8. That's pretty good. It's like a sort of.
I'll give it a 6. Oh,
What is? I can't even. What?
I think it's just a pantsuit with a piece of cloth.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah, okay,
4.
1.
4.
Yeah.
God,
You
I'm
said
harsh on
1.
fashion,
What the?
That's Madonna, right?
No, that's a different actress. I can't remember her name.
Is that the?
Well, they just walked straight out of A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like I don't know 5. It's all right.
7.
I guess.
7. It's
7.
good.
Jesus, Ali, you're so generous. Just
Dude,
What did you
check
say?
out Dracula stuff.
You're meant to look like
3.
a freak at
3.
these.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Oh, it's
Whoa.
finally no. This is classic and classy. This is but not amazing.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
like,
go-
what do you? That's not the point of this.
Yeah,
It's
9.
supposed to be
No.
stupid things.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's supposed to be like
I'm gonna-
retro black
Yeah,
fashion.
this
I
is-
think that's what that
This
means.
is like classy 8. This is like a nice classy.
Is that Nicole? Is it?
I think it is. Oh,
Yeah, I think it is.
yeah, that's
I
an
wish
8.
Nicole would fuck off. One,
No.
because Nicole's wearing it.
No, she's great.
That's still
I
her.
don't think it was Nicole.
Whoa.
Now-
10.
all right, now I'm bringing out the one.
That's an Oompa
What?
Loompa.
That's a one. That is a one. That sucks, dude. What is that?
Nice little bow.
Yeah. I'm not a fan. It's
Come
a
and
bit...
get it, boys.
5.
Oh, God. Okay.
The pants are like
How
a
many
bit too
are there? Is there
much.
like hundreds of these?
There's too many. We don't have to do all of them.
Okay. Classic.
Okay, that's
That's a good one.
That's like I don't know.
9.
6. I
9.
think it's 6. I don't understand fashion.
Oh, Miranda.
Yeah. That's classy too. I'm going to go like that's 8.
yeah. I'll give it an 8.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's
Miranda's
classy.
looking fine.
Classy.
9 as well.
Good on her.
Like 3?
3, yeah. 3, 2.
That's not for me.
3, 2, 1, 0.
What do you say?
Yeah.
You've just given up, have you?
3.
Where's Sabrina Carpenter? Because
Dude, that sucks. That's not even clothes.
that's just like, I'm a hoe.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll give that a 7.
Yeah, of
Man,
course
have you
would.
guys ever seen that like someone does it every year? They compare the Grammys to the AVN Awards.
What's
and
the
all
AVN?
the porn stars are dressed like really elegant
Oh,
and
no
classy. And
way.
then every one of the Grammys looks like a porn
That's
star.
hilarious.
That's funny.
Dang, matching.
Matching,
Yeah,
and like there's a
that's-
lot of puffy
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm into
happening.
that. That's Nightmare Before Christmassy. I'm gonna go 9.
18. 9 and 9.
Jordan's given
Dude,
up.
best.
Yeah, 10.
10.
Holy crap! Is that
10.
Is that Andre 3000?
Yay!
Dude, I saw him play recently his flute in the art gallery of New South Wales.
Dude,
10.
that guy has just given up on his career.
10.
Like,
He played
what
a
is that?
flute the whole time. 10. That's a 10. That's a
Yeah, but
piano.
you're just saying that because you saw him play the flute.
No, I like it. No, I'm not. Like he's carrying a piano.
Yeah, it's true.
Wait, that's it.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Well, we got a 10 in the end.
Yeah, we got 1 10.
That's it.
10, and it was well worth it.
10.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast.
We didn't-
I hope.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Trump, but that's probably a good thing.
Well, we don't. It's not compulsory.
Yeah.
We did have some segments. We had like his Alcatraz stuff.
Yeah,
and
we'll do it on the
him
upload.
wanting to be a pulp. Yeah, we'll do it on
Upload.
the upload. So make sure you subscribe to our Patreon, Friendly Geordie's Podcast Patreon,
Yes.
and make sure you listen to the upload every week as well.
Thank you for joining us for this broadcast.